Welcome to your Daily 5 for Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. Most people listening have probably heard at least something around the Elon Musk Starlink Ukraine story that was initially reported, I think, a week or two ago by CNN based on excerpts from an upcoming biography on Musk that I've seen it described as leaked or actually sent out as kind of an advanced thing, which is typical for books. But however it actually got to CNN, whatever the method was, these excerpts came out and appeared to show at first that Elon Musk deactivated part of his Starlink satellite internet network to prevent the Ukrainian army from striking I believe it was a naval fleet or a port in Russia, which Russia had said was, I think, a red line area where they might start to have to consider using nuclear weapons. And Musk apparently did not want, well, he said two things, one of which is nonsensical and the other we don't really know. The nonsensical part is that he said he didn't want Starlink to be involved in a war, that Starlink was made so that people could watch Netflix and relax, not start World War III. Well, he's been providing Starlink internet to the Ukraine for a while now. They have been in a war now for, a year and a half? So I'm pretty sure Starlink is already involved in a war there, Elon. Nice try, though. And then as far as whether his fears over World War III were actually true fears or something he's inventing as a way to justify what he did, honestly, who cares? Why it happened and even what happened aren't really what's important in this story. Now, I have complained many times. If you've listened for a while, you know this. I often complain that news stories are seized upon by people and they end up focusing on the superficial or the kind of surface level, well, same difference, the superficial details of the story. They don't actually examine what the story is actually revealing to be the true issue. They just get hung up on the kind of, the glittery details. But in this case, I am happy to see that a lot of people are actually looking past the initial, well, did he turn off the network or not? What does this mean for the war? And they're actually looking at the fact that, wait a second, we have one person, who certainly has a questionable track record in terms of making rational decisions, but this one person, no exaggeration, has the ability to change the outcome of a war. And depending on that outcome, and this depends on different experts that you read, that depending on what he does with Starlink, Ukraine could cease to exist in a decade. That if Russia wins, invades, takes over Ukraine, that there is no reason to expect that Russia would allow that country to exist in any form, even with its name, within 10 years. One person can make this happen. Now, of course, I would guess, but I don't know honestly, that international countries would jump in and try to stop any type of truly one-sided swaying of the war. But then again, this happened and nobody knew. So what other things could happen that we don't know about? The problem is that we have essentially allowed a Bond villain to exist. Now, I'm not saying that Elon Musk is necessarily evil in the way that Bond villains traditionally are, but generally, people who turn villainous don't start out that way. And the problem is that so much power is consolidated under the control of one individual who, again, has done things in the past that make you wonder whether his mental capacity is where it would need to be if we even wanted him to have this much power, which I don't think most rational people, if you actually think about it, would want. The problem is most people are okay with people having really, really immense power as long as they agree with them or like them. The problem there is people can change over time. Whether Musk was ever the real-life Tony Stark that he was made out to be, in fact, he was in Iron Man 2, if I remember correctly, but at one point he was seen as this tech genius who was going to get us all into electric cars and revitalize space travel, and so people glorified him and built a whole cult of personality around him. And now we've seen that, a lot of that was never as much as it was made out to be, and even if it was, he's not the same person that he was before, whether that's due to legitimate mental illness or just the fact that he's been doing drugs and being rich and had nobody to say anything that he didn't agree with around him for a long time. I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that it's a bad idea to have somebody in a position that he's in where there is absolutely, as far as we can tell, no real controls over him. Now, again, yes, I'm sure the governments of the world would step in to stop him if he started doing overt things, but there's lots he can do with a private control of something that nobody has oversight to. So that part is not great. The fact that a lot of people seem to be realizing it, well, that might result in something. We'll have to see later.